Hello, I'm Craig Campbell, and this is a playtest of a solo RPG that is in development at NerdBurger Games. It's designed by myself and Shireen Gilchrist. The art that you will see in here is by Gemma Moratilla. She's at Ashenwave on Twitter, and you can buy her artwork and prints and things like that. So some of the artwork that's in here, you can actually go and if you like it, you can go find it. You can buy it. You can own it. You can put it on your wall. So. The game is a solo RPG, kind of set in a fantasy world, and it's called Secrets of the Vibrant Isle. The idea behind the game being that your character has sought out this legendary island called the Vibrant Isle, and it is a place that is hard to get to. It is covered kind of mostly like people know of it in stories. It's legends. It's people aren't really sure what it is, where it is, what it's all about. But your character that you are portraying has heard some sort of a calling and has sought this out. And as the game opens, you have shipwrecked on the shores of this island, and you're going to engage in a whole bunch of different things in order to explore. And your ultimate end goal: make the island your home. You want to stay. That's the crux, the kind of the driving force of the game is that you want to stay here. But the island is magical and doesn't necessarily let everybody that wants to get to the island get to the island, and doesn't necessarily let everyone stay. So the island and the inhabitants of the island are going to decide whether or not you are allowed to stay. And in the game, you have 4 weeks of game time, a month, to prove to the island and the inhabitants that you are essentially worthy, that you are a good person, that you are there for the benefit of the island, that you're not there to pillage and plunder and destroy it, and that you take the place seriously and have the proper respect for it. So the book is kind of set up in chunks of information. 2-page spreads that contain all the information you need to know about certain rules. And then we get to the big chunk of the book, which is the explorations, which is all the things you go and do on the island. And we'll get there in a minute. But basically, there's an opening intro here that kind of sets you up, gets you on the island, tells you what it's about, what the game is about, how do you play it, and sets up the idea of whether or not your character gets to stay. So you have 4 weeks. And the next page segment covers your character, how you create your character, and then kind of all the little bits and pieces that are part of your character sheet, which looks like this. It's a 2-page 6x9. This is going to be set up to be a form fillable PDF. And then also you can print it out and mark it up with pencil if that's how you want to play the game. But my hope here is to have the game be very computer screen or tablet screen friendly, where you can fill out everything on the character sheet in form fillable PDF. The game book itself, you'll see I've got it set up with bookmarks over on the left that take you to all the major sections. When it's all said and done, the pages themselves will have links all over the place. There will be different ways to link, and that'll hyperlink you and move you around the document, because you need to move around the PDF or the book quite a lot while you play the game. So I wanted to make sure that was going to be easy. So there's going to be a lot of work that goes into making sure that you can do that. And for the purposes of presenting the information, like I said, these 2-page chunks where here's everything you need to know about your character. And we'll come back to that when we create a character. Then there's the rules. Here's all the basic rules. You start out dealing with trait checks. You've got gear, worry, wonder, and willpower. We'll talk about that in a minute. Taking actions and how time passes on the island. And then the finale, which is ultimately the moment where you prove to the island and the inhabitants that you belong there. The next section is taking your actions. You've got 5 basic actions that you can take while you're on the island, and we'll get to those when we start exploring. Then there's a section here that's kind of a supplemental section on journaling and mapping, where you could just play the game as a diversion that will take, maybe a few hours, depending on how quickly you kind of go and how fast you flip through the pages and books and how much time you spend writing stuff down and so forth. And a little bit how lucky you are too. You might prove your character worthy of staying on the island very quickly, and it might take you right down to the last day. Who knows? But there's suggestions and ideas for how you can incorporate journaling and kind of create a journal of your character's travels, and also map the island. Although that's there as a fun activity, you will find that the kind of the setup for the game is also that it's kind of hard to find your way around the island and to re-find things. The island is mysterious and magical, and it keeps things from you. So it actually takes a little bit of work to get back to an area that you've previously explored, if you want to do that. Next in the book is a bunch of little additional rule stuff that is part of it. There's critters, which are like creatures that can help or hinder you. Magic, which is, there's beneficial magic and also nasty magic that causes problems for you. And then keywords. And that comes into play when there's some gear, blessings, and critters that have inherent capabilities that are useful and can help your character overcome situations automatically. For example, if you have a rope and hook or magic wings, you can get up high, and you will find that critters or equipment or whatever that allows you to get up high will have the keyword bolded high. And that can come into play in explorations. Like if you come across an exploration where you need to get up to the top of a tower, you might be able to shortcut some of what's happening in order to get to the top of the tower because, hey, you can fly up there, or you can throw a rope and hook up there and climb up very quickly. So those are things that you may or may not. You may come across some of these, not necessarily all of them. It all kind of depends. Oh, then there's the Inhabitants. In the game, when you're playing, you'll be ultimately seeking out the Inhabitants. The idea is to start with your character doesn't realize there's anybody else on the island. But at some point, you'll discover that, and we'll talk about how that happens. But once you do realize there are inhabitants, you go through a total of 5 encounters. You're kind of shooting to go through 5 encounters where you meet the inhabitants, and each time you do, you will sort of world build them for yourself. The inhabitants are not defined. There's a lot of information that's left open for you to develop. So you'll be sort of creating who these people are, what this community is like as you go through your different encounters. And each encounter you learn a little bit more. And after 5 encounters, you're kind of like they know you and they've sort of accepted you into their community and they like you. But you've got to kind of spend the time doing that, just like with a regular friendship. And then the finale. There's 5 different finale scenarios, which are just different ways for your character to prove their worth and whether they should stay on the island. You can roll them randomly, or you can pick one that's kind of more appropriate to your character. If you want to play a little bit easy mode, kind of, you can play one like if your character, for example, is very heavy on the discover trait, have a very good discover trait, you might take the first scenario here, which is discover centric. There's more discover trait checks involved with that particular scenario. And then that's kind of the end of that. And then begins 90 total explorations. And each of them takes up about a third of a page like this and has a bunch of information that tells you kind of like, this is what you find, this is what you do. And there might be some trait checks involved. There might be some other things that you do. Sometimes you just gain something. Sometimes you just lose something. There's a lot of variety, but a lot of it is going to be trait checks. A lot of time you're doing something in order to explore that part of the island. So that's the basics. Let's roll back up to the top. Also, there's an appendix at the back that has a bunch of information about helpers, different types of critters, and different types of magic, so that you've got kind of all that information lumped together in one place, so you can find it easily. And you'll see that over in the bookmarks. So, and if and when we come across any critters or magic, we'll take a look at that. So to start with, we're gonna kind of roll through this. I'm gonna kind of move it fairly quickly, and not go into a lot of depth in creating my character. I'm just going to say, like, well, We'll call our character Glyn of tribe. Get rid of that crap. Glyn. Glyn is the name that I used for my very first D&D character, my very first RPG character ever. And I'm not going to get too heavy into the description right now, but we want to talk about traits and things. So let's take a look here quick. When you create a character, you have 4 traits: discover, interact, learn, and survive. And they're all kind of straightforward. They're all things that are appropriate to what you'll be doing on the island. And we'll talk a little bit more about them as we play. When you make a trait check, you roll a d10, and I've got some d10s here in front of me. And you add your score for whatever trait it is, plus any other bonuses that you might get from equipment or that sort of thing. And that hits a target number, and your target number is defined in the book, and that tells you whether or not you succeed or fail at the thing you're doing. To start with, we have 8 points to distribute amongst my traits. Each trait with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 4. So I'm going to, I could just make them, 2s across the board, like the character's kind of average. They can do a little bit of everything. But what I'm going to do is make Glyn a little bit more like my fighter from my D&D game, because Glyn was a fighter, so he's going to be heavy on survive, and he's going to have a 3 in that, a 1 in learn, and then a 2 in interact, and a 2 in discover. So Glyn isn't the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but he can take care of himself in a hostile environment. So that's what we've got for that. Then you've got tracks. These are 3 tracks of points, basically. You're going to check boxes and keep track of points for 3 different things called worry, wonder, and willpower. Worry represents your character's trepidation, how fearful they are. They're on this weird, strange place. They're all alone. It's worrisome. Wonder is how awestruck and inspired your character is. It covers like, oh, this place is really kind of wonderful. There's like really interesting things. There's like adventure to be had. So how much is wonder affecting them? And then willpower is similar to what you would expect willpower to be like in any game, where it's your ability to add a little extra effort. And willpower gives you the ability to roll more than 1 die and take you roll a second d10 and take the better of the 2 when you make trait checks. If you spend willpower, and worry and wonder get spent in other ways, and we'll talk about those when I decide to spend some. But to start with, I have 3 points to distribute amongst those 3 tracks, so I can spread those however I want. I'm going to stay away from willpower. I'm going to give myself nothing but 2 points of worry and a point of wonder. And I have a reason for doing that. I want to have my character's really worried. He's alone. He doesn't know what to expect in this place. And I want to be able to spend a couple of points of worry to do something cool. Because I know the game and I know what that means. So we'll let it be a surprise when I get there. Let's see. So character sheet. That's basically everything. Just your traits and your worry, wonder, and willpower, character name, description, you're ready to go. Everything else on this character sheet is things that you will do as you go along. We'll talk about the character sheet a little bit here. It's got a week 1 through 3, 4 trackers. You can mark off your days as you go. It's got camp protections down here. These are things you can build as actions that help you. There's a section at the bottom here called the Inhabitants, which is where you'll record all the information about the inhabitants as you kind of discover them and create them. You've got a stockpile of gear, and these are all the different types of gear that you can find, not including the magic. And you can have as much as you want because you can stockpile it at your camp, but you can only carry a certain number. And when you start, you can carry up to 5 items on you at a time. So you can actually apply the bonuses from 5 items at a time. There are ways for that to go up or down, and then you can decide to swap out gear that you're carrying with you. Anybody who's played like computer games with slots of you can only carry so much stuff. You got to have things loaded or armed. It's kind of similar to that. And then we've got 3 spots for critters and 3 spots for magic, and we'll deal with those as we come across them. So back to that. So, the rules. We talked about that a little bit. Trait checks are a D10 plus your trait score, plus any other bonuses that you have from gear and the like. Your target numbers are usually going to be 6, 8, or 10. There's gear that gives you bonuses to traits. There's you can have critters that help you and give you bonuses to traits. There's magic that can give you bonuses. Worry, Wonder, and Willpower, we'll talk about those when I use them. Time, days, and actions we talked about. I'm going to start checking off days as I play. What happens is on every day you have 2 actions. Your character is it's expected that they spend some time sleeping, generally resting during the day, finding shade and comfort. They're taking care of their camp. They're finding food and water. They're doing all the things that it takes to just kind of survive and be and live without turning that into the game. There was a time when I was tracking food and water and things like that in this, and it got to be a little nitpicky, and Shreen and I decided that it's probably more than we want to get into. But you have 2 other actions that you can do on each given day, and then the finale we'll get to when I feel like we're ready. We have to get through 5 encounters with the Inhabitants before I can do anything with the finale. So, starting off, actions. I'm going to check off my first day. I'm going to take my first day. And I have 5 actions available. I can scavenge the shipwreck, which I can only do during the first week, which will help me to find some gear if I can roll well enough. Number 2, I can visit the Inhabitants, but I can only start seeking them out once I've discovered that they're there in the first place, and that requires using a different action. We'll get to that. Number 3, I can study what I've learned, which I can do at the beginning of each of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th weeks. I can make learn checks to attempt to improve my character and increase their traits. Let's see. Favorite board game is Robinson Crusoe. A little bit of a vibe. Yeah, absolutely, given that it's a island kind of thing, but I'm trying to stay away from some of the stuff that is a little difficult it doesn't really click with modern sensibilities with Crusoe. But anyway, number 4, you've got Protect Your Camp, where we can create these things that will help me. And I have to make a survive check to do those things. And then there's Explore the Island, which is number 5. That's what I'll be doing the most of, which is Explore the Island. And when I explore the island, I roll percentile dice. So instead of 1d10, I've got 2d10. And I will roll percentile dice. And if I roll doubles, I encounter the Inhabitants. And I go to one of the the next Inhabitant encounter that I haven't done yet, and start to develop all of that stuff. If I don't roll doubles, I go to that other number. So there's a total of 100 possible results. 10 of those are doubles. And that means there's 90 explorations in the game, 90 different things you can go do. And you can potentially repeat some of them if you roll them again. There's also a way for you to keep track of a few places that you've been to before. Like if you go to do something in this particular exploration and you fail to do the thing and you really want to come back there, you can make a note and you can attempt to come back there later. You can do that for a few places. So we're going to start. I'm going to scavenge the shipwreck a little bit. I'm going to spend a few actions in it. So first day, a couple actions. I'm going to scavenge the shipwreck. That's a discover check. My discover is 2. I'm going to make a note here to the side so I don't have to flip to my character sheet constantly. My learn is 1. My survive is 3. The other 2 are 2. So discover is 2. I'm going to roll a d10 here. And I got a 6. Plus 2 gets me up to an 8. That means I can get the empty book, which gives me a bonus to learn, or anything lower. So I can also get the spyglass, which gets me +1 to discover. And so I'm going to grab the spyglass because I want to do some more shipwreck scavenging, and I want to improve my discover so that will go better. So I am going to pop over here, make a note that I've got the spyglass, and I'm carrying it. My second action for the day, I'm going to roll again. And I rolled a 7. On a discover, this is going to be +3, so I'm up to a 10. I'm going to take the perfume so that I can get a bonus to interacting. This means I'm really hampering. I'm kind of hamstringing myself on learn, which I kind of want to do. I want to see some failures. I want to have one of my traits not be so good. You can, of course, scavenge over and over and over, and see if you can, get yourself a bonus item for everything, and keep all your traits up a little bit higher. But for the purposes of playtesting, I'm gonna go ahead and let learn still kind of lag behind the others right now. So I've got perfume, and I'm carrying that with me. I can make myself smell pretty so that people want to talk to me. Matt, that's exactly correct. The camp, a timeline, actions per day. There's definitely Robinson Crusoe influences here. The very beginning of this was Lost, was like a game based on the idea of Lost. And so you're shipwrecked on an island. There are other people there. There's really cool stuff. There's really scary stuff, but I made it fantasy and not Lost, not the TV show. So anyway, let's scavenge some more. I'm going to see if I can maybe get lucky and get that dagger. So I'm going to click off my second day because I'd really like to have a dagger, and I'm going to try to scavenge. That's a 6. That gets me a +3 from a discover. That gets me 9. I'm going to go ahead and take the empty book because might as well. And so I can keep track of all the things that I'm learning here, and give myself bonuses to learn. And I'll try one more time and see if I can I get all 4? That's 3. That's the hat trick. Can I get the all 4 items scavenging? I mean, to get a target number 12, I need a 9 right now on my die, a 9 or a 10. And that's a 7, so that's not going to do it. So I am without a dagger for the time being, but that's okay. Let's see. What should we go do next? I'm going to create a meditating shrine. I'm going to go to protect my camp, and I'm going to create a place where I can calm myself down and I can meditate. And if I've created a meditating shrine, if I have 0 willpower at the end of a day, I gain 1 willpower. And I started myself with no willpower. So I'm going to see if I can get this made so that I can gain a willpower. So it's my 3rd day. My first action. I need to make a survive check to create the proper type of meditating shrine. I've got a +3. I rolled a 9. That's a 12. I could make the protective ward if I wanted to, but I'm going to just go ahead and make the shrine because that's the only thing I'm worried about right now is gaining willpower. So I made the shrine. Let me make a little check here that I've got that. So once you have these things, they stay in play. You don't have to create them again. I don't have anything in the game right now where these things get destroyed or damaged or anything like that, these protections. Originally, I had them kind of set up where you could only use them one time, but that seemed to be like, why waste your time to just gain 1 willpower? You have to spend an action to get the thing and then spend an action to get it back. So anyway, whenever I end a day with 0 willpower, I gain 1. But I'm still partway through my day. I'm going to explore the island for the first time. So I'm going to roll percentile dice this time. And I got 73. So 73 gets me to the 70s. 73 is the wishbone. And for each of these explorations, I didn't get doubles, so I don't get an encounter with the inhabitants. So I just do what 73 tells me to do. And with each one, there's kind of a setup that tells you kind of what the encounter is. There's usually some sort of a twist or a build-up or like something that's problematic, something that's difficult, something that you're going to have to deal with. In this case, I'm walking past a bush. I discover 2 clean white bones shaped like a V, connected at the bottom, dangling over a large flower. It appears to have been purposely placed there, so somebody put this thing here, and there's nothing else strange like that around it. And I recall an old myth about where you break a bone like this and it grants you a wish. But is there really a wish to be had? And I've got temptation. Can I resist? If I have less than 2 willpower, you can't resist, and you break the wishbone. Well, I've got less than 2 willpower because I got nothing. So I can't resist. I break the wishbone, and I go to break the wishbone down here. Roll 1d10 and add 1 for each willpower you currently have. I don't have any. So it's going to be a straight d10. Dice keep rolling under my keyboard. I got a 5. Oh, if the result is 7 or higher, well, it's not. If the result is 6 or lower, lose 2 pieces of gear I'm currently carrying. I could have gained a piece of gear. I could have had a wish and gained 1 piece of gear of my choice, but I lost 2 of the pieces I'm carrying, so 2 of the things I scavenged are gone. What do I want to lose? That sucks. I'm going to go ahead and lose the empty book because I didn't care about my learn score too much to begin with, and I'm going to lose the spyglass. I want to be able to keep discovering things for the time being. So, all right. So that's the end of my 3rd day. I'm at 0 willpower. So I gain a willpower from my meditating shrine. There we go. On to the 4th day. I really want to find some inhabitants here. So I'm going to go back up to my actions. Roll percentile dice to explore. Yeah, that wishbone really hamstrung me. I got a 17. Okay, so 17 is going to be in the low numbers. And you'll discover this as you're playing the game. The lower numbers are more of the kind of dark and mysterious things, and the high numbers are like the wonderful things. So I've got to go to 17. This is a fallen nest. These strange trees are home to birds. A couple of nests cling to the trees, but one has been knocked down and scattered across the forest floor. The feathers of a large bird trail from the nest deeper into the woods. These trees have smooth bark, the branches beginning far off the ground, impossible to climb, but you think you see a glint of metal in one of the nests above. So looks like I might be climbing the tree. First thing up here, nesting instinct. If you can get up high, I find a dagger up there. That's that glint of metal. I can't do that because I don't have a way to climb this unclimbable tree. So I follow the trail of feathers to encounter 14, which is the Crystal Menagerie. Encounter 14. This does not cost an action, so I'm still part of that same action. I go to the Crystal Menagerie. Sparkling light catches my eyes when I follow the trail. A faint tinkling bell-like sound can be heard as I enter a clearing and see crystals carefully hung about. After a moment, you notice there are objects and creatures inside the crystals, frozen for eternity. A crackling sound behind you reveals a spiky crystalline creature coming straight at you, lunging on wickedly sharp crystal legs. Go! I gotta run. Target number 8, survive check. Let's see if I can do it. Target number 8, my survive is +3. Oh, I got a 7. I fail. I lose a wonder. This place is not nearly as wonderful as I thought. There's monsters trying to kill me, so I lose a wonder. Oh, okay. Well, I still got plenty of worry. Well, that was just my first for this first action for this day, I believe. So, and I might screw these up because I'm spending a lot of time narrating and everything too. But anyway, I'm gonna take my next action. I'm gonna explore. Do I scavenge? I'm running out of days. I'm gonna scavenge. I want to try to see if I can get one of those items back. So I've still got a +3 to my discover. And that gets me a 7, which gets me a spyglass, which I already have. I'm going to try to scavenge. Oh, that's the end of the day. So I'm on my 5th day. I'm going to try to scavenge again. Maybe I'll spend this day scavenging and see if I can get one more item. That's a 9. +3. That's a 12. That's a dagger. I'm taking it. No. Do I take it? Yes, I do. I'm taking the dagger. So I have a dagger that gives me +1 survive. So my survive is +4. So bring on the monsters. I am ready for them, but I'm going to scavenge one more time. Maybe I can pull one of those other 2 items. I've got a +3 discover for my scavenging. That's a 2. +3 is a 5. It gets me nothing, so the day is over. Okay, so I came out of it with 2 items. I think I'm done scavenging. I need to explore. There's much more to be had in the explorations. So let's try, let's explore next day. I'm on day 6. 22, excellent. There's my doubles. I'm going to get something to block these dice because I've got dice that keep rolling. I'm rolling them with my left hand, kind of toward my keyboard, and they keep rolling underneath the keyboard. So there we go. 22, that's doubles. So let's go see the Inhabitants. The first time your character spies an inhabitant, they just catch a glimpse of the being flitting through the jungle or hiding among some rocks. By the time your character gets to where the individual was, the inhabitant is gone. But they get a sense of the inhabitant's size and form. Now you'll notice that they are constantly referred to as the Inhabitants because you're creating them as you go, and it means you will also develop what their name is. You'll basically world building this group of people, their home, and you decide what they call themselves. If they call themselves anything, they may not have a name for themselves, but if they do. So I've got 2 tables here for size and form. I can roll a d10 for each one and do it randomly, or I can. It also gives you the option to choose the ones that are most appealing to you at the moment. Right now, I'm going to roll them randomly because random is fun. So their size is I rolled an 8, so they are 7 feet tall. And their form is 5, flesh and bone like a human. So they're very tall, human-like creatures. They're taller than me, 7 feet tall, human-like. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to throw that in here. 7 feet tall, human-like. So that's what I know, and I've done my first encounter. So I can check off that. So I know I've gotten my first encounter done. So far I know there's other people here. And they kind of look human, but they're tall. And we're going to go back up. And now I have I've discovered that there are the inhabitants are here. So I can, if I want to, I can seek them out with action number 2 here, visit the inhabitants, which requires making an interact check. I'm going to hold off on that for the time being. Hopefully I can get some more meetings with them just through rolling doubles. So I'm on my second action of this day. And I roll a 9. That's really low. That's way down. That's the dark and deadly area of the island. Old Burgle. Ooh. Okay, up ahead, a small hut made of sticks juts into the air, narrow and tall. You see the flash of movement through a window. Then a cackle arrests your ears, loud and uproarious. You peer into the hut to see a very tall, wizened man with a burned beard. He beckons you forth and says, "Come to barter with old Burgle, have you? Very well, what do you have to offer?" Oh boy, I can give a gift. If I have an item that I can give as an offering, I can lose that item to him and gain something, but I don't have an item that I can give as an offering. So I have to convince him, which is a target number 10 interact check. If I can manage to pull that off, my interact is +2. It means I need an 8 or better. I'm gonna give it a shot with just 1 die. I'm not gonna spend my willpower. Oh, you know what? I'm coming on the end of my day. I'm going to spend my willpower. I'm going to roll 2 dice and take the better of the 2 because this is going to be the end of the day. And then if I don't, I'm going to be at 0 willpower and I'll gain 1 because of my shrine. And I rolled an 8, and that's a +2. That's a 10 interact check. If I succeed, I can gain a sword +2 to survive, or Burgle's buddy, Nimblethim the Wumpkin, accompanies me as a helper. And I'd love to have a sword, but I think it's important that we meet some of the critters. So Nimblethim the Wumpkin. He's back here, specifically right here. He's a short, chubby fey fellow with a sunny disposition. He's gregarious, so he gives me +1 to interact, as long as, if I want to use his skills. Basically, this is how this works. They start out as helpers, these critters. And that means they will accompany you. And if I use one of their 2 skills sometime in the next few days, they help me, and then they go. They leave. If I don't use any of their skills for 3 days, they decide, hey, this person is not trying to take advantage of me. They're hanging around with me and we're having a good time. So they're going to hang around and they become a friend. When they become a friend, I can use their abilities. I can use one of their abilities every day. One or the other of the abilities every day during one or other of my actions. And that continues until something happens that I lose them as a friend. So I am going to take Nimblethim the Wumpkin and make him... he's a helper to start with. And let's see. I'm going to grab the information about him real quick. Dump that in there. Whoops. Can't do it that way. Okay. I'll do it +1. Oh, come on. What are you doing? He gives me a +1 to interact. And what's the other thing that he does? He can read runes. He knows his magic. So that's one of those keywords. If I come across something that requires me to read runes, Nimblethim can help me. So he's a helper, and he's wandering around the island with me now. Come along, Nimblethim. Let's see what we can go find. It's now the end of my day. And I spent my willpower, so I'm going to gain it back at the end of the day, so I'll just leave it at 1. I'm on, what was it? This is going to be I'm day 7. The end of my first week. Oof. So I've found a few items, and I have Nimblethim wandering around with me, and I've met the Inhabitants once, so that's good. I'm on my way. But I need to meet the Inhabitants more, and I need to probably I need to find some more stuff. But I spent so much time scavenging, and then I lost multiple items all in one exploration, that it's kind of putting me behind this the curve a little bit. So I think I need to go and do a bunch of exploring and see if I can't find the Inhabitants in the process too. So this is my last day of the week. I'm going to use my action to explore. Hello, that's 11. Haha, doubles. I'm going to go to the Inhabitants. What am I going to learn about them this time? Second encounter, their physicality. The second time your character encounters an inhabitant, they get a better look at an individual and take note of an unusual physical feature as well as a physical mannerism they possessed. But the inhabitant still manages to escape before your character can get too close. So I've got physical features and physical mannerisms. I'll roll them in both cases. I rolled a 5 for the feature, which is they have body armor, so they have like chitinous skin or something like that, or bony armor it says, and their physical mannerism is a 1. They can climb and hang from trees. So these people are have like chitinous coverings on their flesh, and they climb a lot. They jump around on trees. So I'm going to make a note of that. And they are tree climbers. So I'm slowly learning more about the Inhabitants. Whoop. Yeah, and I've got one more action. I'm going to go back. I'm going to explore again. Now, if I was playing this and I was journaling, I'd probably be fleshing things out quite a bit more for each of the individual explorations, and in particular, the inhabitant interactions, because I could develop and be a little more wordy about that. But I'm trying to kind of keep the playtest moving because people are watching and listening and aren't necessarily going to hang in there for hours and hours of me extrapolating. So we're going to explore the island. This is the end of my first week. That's going to be an 05. Oh boy, that's the dark and dangerous part again. Riddle me this. You come upon an ancient stone plinth weathered with age. Carefully cleaning it off, you discover words written in a multitude of languages. Eventually, you find sentences you can comprehend. Written on the plinth are the words, "Unravel the riddle and reap the reward." Below this is a complex riddle is laid out. It's a learn check, so riddles are, like if you know enough stuff, you can kind of piece them together. So, I'm going to use my willpower because I can always gain it back at the end of the day here. So I'm going to try to... It's a target number 8 learn check, which is tough. But I'm going to try it with a willpower, so 2 dice. And I got a 9! So that gets me to a 10 with my 1 learn. If I succeed, I gain a willpower and a wonder. Excellent. I gain a willpower, which I would have gotten back at the end of the day anyway. But I gain a wonder, which is useful. So I suddenly feel like, oh, this place isn't so bad. It's starting to grow on me. Strange riddle plinth. And back to the actions we go. Now I'm in the beginning of my second week. I could try to improve my character. That's going to be tough for my character because my learn score is not terribly high. So I think for the time being, I'm going to forego it because I'm going to try to do this mostly through items and critters and stuff. So exploring the island. Well, let's see. I could go visit the Inhabitants. Although I've done it twice already. If I get like halfway through the week and I still haven't doubled into them, I'll go try to visit them. So I'm going to explore the island. And let's make this, we're on my second week, day 1. And I got a 38. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend that wonder that I had. Worry and wonder work like this. If you have a lot of worry, it means you're worried and afraid and trepidatious. And you can go to confront your fears. And what happens is when you make your... exploration check, you can spend a worry. You can spend worry. For every worry that you spend, it decreases your exploration check by 10. So you just bump it down by 10s. And you can spend multiple worry. And with wonder, you can spend wonder to increase your exploration check by 10. So I'm going to take that 38, I'm going to spend a wonder and turn it into a 48. And I'm cheating a little bit because I know the game, but because I designed it with me and Shireen. And Shireen might know why I'm doing this too if she's watching or listening. But for those people who, once you've played the game a few times, you'll start to learn these things too. So you also, just like any game, you can kind of start to game the game. So I'm going to go up to a 48. I don't know what 48 is, but I kind of know what's in the 40s, and I want to get into the 40s. The 40s or the 50s. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the 40s, to 48, which is Visions of Decay. Something isn't right. You study the jungle around you, squinting ever so slowly. You see it. The trees begin to rot, leaves falling brown and crinkled. The soil grows fetid and begins to reek of death. A bird above suddenly falls from the sky, dead. Visions of the island decaying all around you roll through your senses for several minutes, chilling you to the bone. In time, you feel achy and tired, as if the life is being sapped from you, and suddenly it stops and all returns to normal, except for your memory of everything on the island dying. So this is just a straight up thing that happens to me. I lose wonder and gain worry. Reduce your wonder by any number and gain that same number of worry. I don't have any wonder because I just spent it. And it says here, if you have 0 wonder, gain 1 worry. So more worry for Glenn. He's not feeling the wonder of this place. It's feeling really problematic. He's a little scared. So back to actions. Second action of the day. Lots of worry. I can spend that to face my fears if I want. Let's see what I get here. 58. Oh, that puts me into the 40s and 50s again, which is good. I want to try out a 58. So 58. Incandescent tunnel. It's quite dark here as you follow a path under some large overhanging rocks. The path continues through a tunnel. After a few moments, your eyes adjusting. I'm not going to read all of these things because I don't want to basically, I start making out plants and spots of light ahead. Can't quite make out the path. It's dark. I'm having trouble. Down here under the instructions for what I'm doing, if you have something that creates light, I can gain 2 wonder and see all of the wonderful things in this tunnel better. I don't have something that creates light, so I go to the second one, which is slow and steady. A target number 6 discover check to slowly make your way along. If you succeed, gain 2 wonder. Oh, excellent. If you fail, gain 2 worry, which I get plenty of worry. I don't want any more. So I'm going to really try to get that wonder. I am going to spend my willpower because I'm going to get it back at the end of the day. 2 dice. I need a target number 6 discover. I have a +3. There's a 6 on one of those dice, so that is a success. I gain a couple of wonder. Okay, Glyn is feeling the island again. It's feeling better, and that's the end of my day. And I go back and I meditate at my shrine, and I gain a willpower. And now it's the second day of the second week. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them out there. Okay, I'll try like another day or 2 of exploring and see if I can get the Inhabitants. Let's see. Back to my actions. A little bit more exploration. 74. Ooh, nice. Up high. 74. Rock tumbler. The cool shaded air of the cave looks inviting, so you step inside. Excellent. I'm in a cool cave. My eyes adjust. I see its smooth-sided cave scooped out of the rock like it was cut out with a spoon. It is a welcome relief. I squeeze between some rocks to find myself face-to-face with a stone door carved into the stone, complete with handle and lock. You hear some noise from the other side. Maybe you can open the door. And again, here's one of those items. If you have an item that allows you to open a lock, which I do not, I can go to another encounter. But I'll try to remove the door with a learn check, which is a little tough, because my learn is not great. I'm going to just give it a try. I'm not going to spend the willpower on it. I do not open the door. Can't get the door open. And Nimblethim the Wumpkin, I think, at this point, that's going to be second day. Is this my first action? This is my... Crap, what day am I on? I've lost track. I'm going to say that this was my third day first action because I think we got into the third day. Nimblethim has been with me for more than 3 days. I know that for sure. So he's a friend. I kind of lost track of him. I didn't really need to do any interact checks, and I didn't run into anything where I needed runes. So now my interact is higher because Nimblethim is going to hang around and potentially help me. But only once per day. I can only use one of his skills once per day. But I have a companion walking around with me. And second day of exploring the island, or second action of this day, gets me 72. 72 Homestead Ruins. Nestled in a meadow with hills below, this roofless structure might have been a fine home once. It's now mostly walls and floor. But enough remains to show the skill that was put into its construction. Vines and flowers and trees have reclaimed it. A wooden fence surrounds the ruins with a heavy gate blocking entry. As you explore what's left of the house, you wonder if there might be anything left behind that you can use. So it's a straight discover check to see if I can find something. All right. My discover is pretty good. It's the end of the day. I'm going to use that willpower. I'm not going to mark it off again. I'm going to gain it right back immediately. I'm going to use willpower, so I'm rolling 2 dice. My discover is +3. And I rolled an 11, a 1 and a 1. So I didn't get it. Oh, there goes my willpower, but I gained it back on the next day. So now we're on to the 4th day. Oh, boy. Okay, one more day. Let's see if I pull any doubles. Because the great thing about it is if you know your odds, if you know your statistics, I really have a 1 in 10 chance. Every roll, every time I explore, I have a 1 in 10 chance of encountering the Inhabitants. So I just haven't done much lately. But I have a 1 in 10 chance. Here's hoping. 2 more explorations. 58. Incandescent tunnel. That's the tunnel that I was at before. Yeah, you know what? I went to it before. I'm going to use the option here. If I go to a place that I've been to before, I can re-roll. And it doesn't cost me anything. If I've been there before, I can try to do it again. Like if I wasn't able to succeed at whatever it is that encounter is, I could try to do it again. That's cool. But I'm not going to bother. I'm going to re-roll. So, 54. You know what? I'm going to spend a worry to make that 54 into a 44. And that's going to take me to the Inhabitants. Third encounter. First skill. On your third encounter, your character gets a chance to see an inhabitant doing something remarkable, revealing one skill they have. This provides narrative flavor for the inhabitant, but also comes into play when you manage to make one of the inhabitants into a friend. So there you go. Nimblethim has become a friend. I can use one of his skills each day. Eventually, I'll now define the two skills for the inhabitants and eventually make friends with them, and one of the inhabitants will become a friend for me, and so I'll have another way of gaining some of these bonuses because I'll have this other person that's come along with me and that's helping me. So I'm going to continue rolling randomly. So the first skill is 8. They are wise, which gives me a +1 to learn, which is good. So once I have them helping me, I will be able to get that extra boost to learn occasionally. So that gets me to, whoops, I'm on my third encounter with the inhabitants. And I'm on my 4th day. Back to my action. Come on. 48. I think I've rolled 48 before, haven't I? Visions of Decay. I don't want to deal with that one again. That one was not nice to me. I am going to go ahead and roll again. And I'm going to get a 16, and that's going to put me in 16. Rusty. As you make your way through the jungle following an animal trail, you come across what appears to be an abandoned campsite grown decrepit with age and disuse. The blankets and tent are rotted, the carefully created stone campfire scattered, and the few remaining supplies are rotten and worm-covered. A large blade, one that looks perfect for cutting tree branches, leans against a tree. It is covered in rust, but it may be of some use. The blade quivers. I'm going to collect the blade. Target number 8, discover check to examine the blade, and then if I succeed, I might be able to get something out of it. Is this my? I'm trying to remember. This is my second action for the day, so I'm going to use my willpower. Target number discover to dive +3 to discover. 2 dice. That's going to be a 5 plus a 3 is going to get me target number 8, which does it. If I succeed, you know it's too far gone. Oh, but flint and steel that provides light underneath. So in amongst the other stuff, I have a light source now. That's good. I've needed a light source a few times here. And so I'm going to keep carrying that with me, and I'm going to move to the 5th day. And I think I'm going to go seek out the inhabitants at this point. Okay, so back to my actions, and I'm going to use action number 2, visit the inhabitants for the first time. So my bonus is 2. Nimblethim can give me a +1. I'm going to use that this day. I'm going to have Nimblethim help me try to find and talk to the inhabitants. So I'm going to use his +1 for this check today. And now I've got a +3 to interact checks. And I'm going to roll. Whoops. Let me roll that again. 1 die. I'm rolling 1 die. And I rolled a 1. Womp, womp. So 1 plus 3 gets me 4. Nothing. I don't do anything. I use my action. I use my nimble thim. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to roll to visit the inhabitants. I'm going to use my willpower this time. So that's going to go away, and I'm going to bring it back at the end of the day. So I'm going to roll 2 dice this time. Nimble thim's not helping me because I already called upon him today. And I have a +2 for interact. And I got a 9 on one of the dice. So that's going to get me all the way back to target number 10. Welcome back. Go to your next encounter with the inhabitants. Does not cost an action. Boom. I'm going to go see the inhabitants for my 4th encounter. And I find, in this one, I learned their second skill. So it works just like the first time. I'm going to learn what kind of cool stuff they can do. I'm going to roll randomly, and I'm going to get a 10. They are very giving, which means they can give up a personal valuable as an offering. That is super handy. That's one of those keywords. So they carry things around with them that they can give up to other people, other creatures on the island, to help gain things. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop that in there. So now I just need one more encounter with the inhabitants to make friends, to kind of get to really know them. So for the time being, that's my day, right? Because I failed the first time. So I'm into my 6th day of the second week. I'm going to go back to my actions. I think I'm pretty safe on the inhabitants, so I'm going to explore some more. It's a 79. Oh, yeah, 79. Wandering Vine. Let me do that like that on my table so my dice keep where they want them. 79. Wandering Vine. You hear someone coming along the path towards you, whistling a happy tune. Continuing forward cautiously, you run into a human-shaped person made entirely of vines and leaves, wrapped around a skeleton made of branches. They tip their giant flower hat and say, "How wonderful to meet a traveler on this road on such a lovely day. I've never met anyone like you before," and I have small talk with them, and I can make an interact check. So my interact is, you know what, I'm going to invite Nimble Thim into this discussion. And target number 6, not too hard. I got a +3 with Nimble Thim. We're all going to sit around and talk, have a nice chat. And that's a 3 plus a 3 is a 6. Target number 6, I gain a wonder. What a wonderful wandering vine person that I've met. So I'm going to gain a wonder. Now I'm feeling much better about the island. Glyn has more wonder than worry. Oh, feeling better. Back to exploring. I'm on day 6 still. That's going to be a 49. The chase. Oh, jeez, really? Something in the brush watches you and starts to move. You hear the crunching of breaking twigs. You now breathing, getting louder and closer. Finally, a snarl. You take off running, jumping ditches and pushing through foliage. As you bolt, your eye catches strange and wondrous sights, but many flit from memory quickly as you try to keep ahead of your pursuer. I am fleeing the danger. I can make a discover check to notice where I am and maybe kind of gain some things. So I'm going to make a discover check, which is a +3. I'll do, is it the end of my day? I'm losing track. I think we might need to have a way to keep track of which action you're on, but I'm pretty sure this is the last action of the 6th day. Yeah. I'm going to use 2 dice. I'm going to spend a willpower. Got a 7. Plus my discover is going to hit that target number of 8. If you succeed, gain a wonder. Even more wonder. So much wonder. And then back to my actions. Oh, I think I'm on my 7th. My 7th day. This is the last day of my week. 2nd week. So this is the halfway point just about. Let's see. Explore the island. Let's see, I have bonuses. Well, let's recap it after today. Let's do a couple more explorations, and then we'll do a recap of the character. 28 is what I rolled. Grabbing vines. That doesn't sound good. The jungle here is dominated by bundles of ropey vines hanging from every tree. They fight for space, seeking sunlight and water. The vines are dark and thick, and they start grabbing at me. Just as I realize the light above has dimmed, the vines start grasping. A large flower drops down before you and unfurls into a face that says, "What now? What a fantastic creature you are." Oh, and I can try to amuse it with an interact check, which is not bad. I've got a 2 in that. I think I used Nibblethim wrong in the past, but whatever. That's me making a mistake as I'm going quickly. Oopsie, sorry. But anyway, the point here is I got an interact check, which is a +2. I'm going to roll and see if the flowers will be nice because I make them laugh. That's a 3. +2 is a 5. Nope. If you fail, you escape but lose a carried item. Gah! What am I going to lose? What am I going to lose? I'm going to lose the flint and steel. I've lost 3 items. I've gained 5 and lost 3 in this game. Oof. I just can't hold on to stuff. And my last action of the first half of my time on the island is a 60. Bowl of fruit. That's got to be good, right? You follow a wide, inviting path in the jungle. You come to a curtain of vines. Pulling them aside, you discover a delightful scene. Several small woodland creatures sit around a stump like a table. On the table are tiny cups made of hollowed-out gourds and nuts, and a wooden bowl with fruit. The creatures gesture you over, offer you a cup of tea, and offer me a fruit. These fruits don't look very familiar. Better choose carefully. So it's going to be a discover check. If you succeed, the creature gives you a cryptex that allows you to read runes. I already have a thing that reads runes, but that's okay. Let's see if I discover check +3. 3 + 3 is target number 6. I gain a cryptex, which is like a rune decipherer puzzle thing. Where's my cryptex? They give me this as a gift. And one more. One more? Was that my last action? I have one more. 51. Let's see, what's a 51? Field of Tranquility. Oh, wonderful. Before you stands a small field, tall grass blowing gently in a crisp breeze. Birds chirp softly. Narrow rivulet of a stream runs through it, providing water. In the middle of the field, next to a stream, a low flat rock beckons, warmed by the sun. I sit for a while and I meditate, and I gain 2 willpower. And I've got a thing in there that I'm going to need to change the wording on that because that's redundant. But anyway, I am now, and I haven't spent my willpower this turn, so I at 3. So I'm not gonna. I've got willpower for a while. Right, so that's halfway. Let's see what halfway looks like. I haven't improved any of my traits. I chose not to. I started with 2 worry and 1 wonder. I now have 2 worry, 4 wonder, and 3 willpower. So I got lots of resources to spend. So I should be able to use those to good effect. And I have 3 items: a dagger, a spyglass, a cryptex, and Nibblethim is with me. He can help with interactions and reading runes. And I've done all of my encounters with the Inhabitants except for 1. So I'm going to get that out of the way, I think, because once I've got the Inhabitants figured out, if I roll doubles, I can re-roll. I can, there's no point in me doing the Inhabitants thing again. Because once you've got 5, you're good to go. At that point, at any time after that, you can go to the finale. I'm going to at least go for a while before I try to do the finale. I'll wait till the last week before I try the finale. So I'm going to at least spend the week 3 exploring the island. So let's see. Back to actions. Should I try to increase something? I've got all that willpower. You know what? I'm going to try to increase my learn because it's not very good right now. So I'm going to use study what you've learned. Action number 3 here. At the beginning of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th weeks, you can make a learn check at target number 8. If you succeed, increase any one of your traits by 1 to a maximum of 4. You may spend multiple actions doing this until you succeed 1 time. So I skipped past the week 2 doing this. Didn't get anywhere. So I can't go back there and do that. I have to do this at the beginning of the third week. But I can keep trying if I want to. But I'm gonna spend a willpower, because I've got a bunch. So that's gonna give me 2 dice, and it's a learn check, and Nimblethim's going to help me. So I'm gonna be rolling 2 dice. And I'm going to get a +3 because Nimblethim gives me a bonus. So for this one, he's going to help learn me something and see if I can improve one of my traits. So I need a target number. Where'd it go? Target number 8. I get 2 dice, and I have a +2 right now. And I rolled an 8, and a +2 gets me a 10. I improve 1 trait. What shall I improve? I think I shall improve Learn so that I can learn more at the 4th week. So my learn goes up to 2. I'm making a note here just off to the side. And that means that with Nimblethim, I've got a 3 for learn. And now I'm back to exploring. And I think it's going to be probably exploring through the entire 3rd week. Unless I don't manage to get to the Inhabitants. But I'm pretty sure that somewhere in here I will manage to roll doubles. 32. Let's go to 32. This is the end of, this is the first day of the 3rd week. So 32. Shell Castle. The sand is soft under your feet, and as you walk down the beach, you notice something in the distance. As you approach, you see it is a castle built of sand and shells, beautifully constructed with walls, towers, turrets, and ramparts. The closer you get, the larger the castle becomes. Soon you realize either you have shrunk or the castle has grown, and now you are inside of it. There must be a way out. You're trapped inside of a castle, a shell castle. All right, escaping requires a survive check, which is a +4 for me. I rolled an 8 +4, that's 12. Target number 6, no problem. I break through the shells and I lose a worry. Look at me. I crashed my way out of a shell castle and I lose one of my worry in the process. I need to make a note that encounter needs some fixing. There's some wording that's not correct in there right now. So back to taking my actions. I'm going to do a whole bunch of exploring. Day 2. Nimblethim's still along for the ride, watching me bust through shell castles. Let's go exploration. 31. Oops. 31. Music box. You hear a tune in the distance. It is both compelling and unsettling, familiar and strange, easy to follow but impossible to describe. That's one of my favorite sentences that Shireen wrote. I think it might have been slightly different, and I think I might have tweaked the wording just slightly, or maybe it's exactly the way she wrote it, but it's a great description of something. You follow the sound to a tree stump where a beautifully carved wooden box sits open with a small figure spinning around. The figure seems to be dancing to the music. There's nothing and no one around you, only this music box sitting in the middle of the forest, clearly placed intentionally on a stump, wound and left to play. That's a little spooky. Lift up the bottom. Let's take a look at this thing. Target number 6, discover check. I have a 3. I'm going to go ahead and roll a die. I'm going to roll a 2 plus 3 is going to give me a 5. That's not going to give me anything. Regardless, the tune doesn't leave your mind, and you find yourself subconsciously humming it all the time. So I don't gain anything other than this an earworm. Thank you, Shireen. I now have this tune stuck in my character's head for who knows how long. This is day 2, action 2. 33. There's my doubles. All right, excellent. I will go to the Inhabitants for the final encounter. When your character encounters an inhabitant for the 5th time, they are invited to visit the Inhabitants' community, flesh out their community, and determine how they welcome you into their home. And then I have a D10 check for their community. I'm going to roll for that. Their community is a number 5, is a pastoral village. That's nice. So we've got 7-foot-tall human-like creatures, bipedal, human-like, right? They've sort of got bony chitinous armor. They like climbing trees, and they live in a pastoral village in a clearing. And they are wise and giving. At this point, they welcome me. I'm going to say they don't have a name for themselves, and I'm not going to name them because that's not my job. They are just I'm just referred to them as my friends at this point. Their community, they call what do I want to call their community? Coming up with names like this, trying to keep things moving in this. Sun sweep, because of how the sun just kind of bathes it in light all the time. And I make a friend. One of them becomes a friend. And so I'm going to give them a name, and I'm going to call them Tilla. And Tilla is going to go over here into one of my critters because they are a friend. Whoop. That wasn't supposed to happen. And Tilla, who is a friend, boom, automatically, and can do these two things that I marked down here. Can +1 to learn, and they can give up an offering. So I've got... Oh, no, Nimblethim. Nimblethim is interact. Jeez. So I did it right the first time and did it wrong the second time. Nah, never mind. Don't look too closely. I'm goofing things up. So the point is here now I have 2 critters, that is to say creatures that are coming around with me. If I get a third one, I fill them into this box here. If I get a fourth one of these has to leave in order for me to keep the fourth one. So I can only have 3 wandering around with me. And we've so far only found beneficial critters. There are also nuisances. And if you gain a nuisance, they show up. They have like a detrimental ability that they hit you with, and you are stuck with them until you can find a way to get rid of them. And if you gain if you have 3... for example, if you had 3 nuisances and you gain a helper, you don't get to keep that helper. A helper cannot replace a critter. Only the friend that you gain as an inhabitant can replace the critter or replace the nuisance. So nuisance, you always have to kind of get rid of them because they take up a spot on your character sheet where something more useful, a wonderful creature or person, could end up. So that's where I'm at. That's the end of day 2. Excuse me. Day 3, back to the actions. So if I hit doubles at any other times here, I'm going to reroll because I don't need to. Sorry, I don't need to do any more inhabitant encounters. So it's all explorations to the end of the week. 93, nice, way up in the 90s. 93 is an island stowaway. I stumble on a tiny hut. A haggard human with a sunburned, age-worn face emerges, stammering, "Please don't tell them I'm here. The island said I had to go, but then it didn't send me away." The island stowaway somehow managed to remain on the island, even though the island deemed them unworthy. Should you help them? This is an interact check. If you succeed, they'll reward me, and if I fail, they run away into the jungle. So sure, I'll keep your secret. It's not my job to police you. So it's an interact check. I'm going to go ahead and use Nimblethim's bonus. That's rolled an 8 plus 3. Hits the target number of 10. They give me lockpicks that they've scavenged from somewhere on the island. So I can open locks, and I'm going to keep their secret. So I'm carrying the lockpicks with me. I've got 4 items, so I'm still good. I don't have to stockpile anything. And next action for this day is 82. Bump up it here to 82. That's a jigsaw. If you didn't know better, you'd swear this hollowed out tree was purposely designed as a child's room. The room has been carved into a little table. The wood has been carved into a little table and chair with a small window and a door. On the table is a tea set made of wood, but too small for an adult. Toys lie scattered about. The pieces of an unassembled jigsaw puzzle rest on the little table. Can you put it together? Learn check. And I'm going to have Tilla help me because Tilla is wise, like her people, and going to give me a +1 to wise, +1 to learn. I've got a 3 to learn. I'm rolling 1 die. Target number 8. I roll a 9, so I succeed. And the puzzle, I assemble a picture of a blue and green salamander, which then comes to life. And I gain Flit the Salamander as a helper. There's a helper here called Flit the Salamander. He's down in the helper and nuisance section. Flit is amphibious, so he can go underwater. And he can remove a curse. I haven't run across any curses yet, but he can remove curses. So I'm going to add Flit. Now my critters are full up. I have found lots of critters. But no magic. Just how it's turned out this time. He can go underwater, and he can remove a curse. All right, so me and my adventuring party of Nimblethim, Tilla, and Flit head off to... that was a whole day there. I finished up a day. To our 5th day. So I have like a whole little adventuring party, and Flit will hang around. Flit can help me in the next 3 days over the course of the end of the 3rd week here. If Flit doesn't help me, if I don't have Flit help me with anything, Flit will hang around into the 4th. So I'm going to use Flit's ability if it becomes helpful. But if I run across underwater or I get a curse, if I don't, then I'm going to go into the 4th week with three buddies. They'll all be friends. So back to actions. Oh boy, 1. Oh, I know what 1 is. All right. Exploration number 1, the Fell Beast. This is the darkest... No. All right, you find yourself wandering the darkest parts of the island. Here, brightness disappears. Everything is deep, dark jewel tones, some almost black. You step on a twig and pause. A breeze kicks up, and with it comes the scent of dying embers. A massive beast made of midnight shadows lurches forward, coalescing from nothing. Its long fangs drip fresh blood, and that sizzles when it hits the ground. So if I have less than 2 willpower, I run away. I have 2 willpower, so I can stay and fight. If I had run away, I would go to encounter 49, the chase, which we've seen before. If you have 2 or more willpower, I fight. It's a target number 10 survive check. I'm going to use one of those willpower because I want to try to defeat the Fell Beast. I normally have a 4 for survive. I'm rolling 2 dice. And I need a target number 10, which is as high as the target numbers get in these explorations. 1 is bad, Derek. 1 is very bad. I don't want a 1. I'm going to roll 2 dice, hopefully. I rolled 2 dice earlier and got 2 1s. Ugh. So here we go. Can I fight off the Fell Beast? That's an 8 on one of them, and there's a 1 on one of them. Thanks a lot, Derek. But I got an 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. That beats my target number 10. If you succeed, you gain the Rune Sword Blessing. So that's one of those magics. In the game, you don't collect magic items because that's a little bit too much like artifacts that you're taking away from an island people. That's silly. We can just make them blessings. These are magical things that you gain the access to. When you use them, they manifest as some sort of physical form, kind of a magical effect that comes into base. And I have the Rune Sword, and the Rune Sword can translate runes and gives me a +2 to survive. So my survive is up to 6 now if I fight with my Rune Sword and my dagger. And it can translate runes, which one of my friends can also do anyway. But that's okay, just in case I lose one. So I got the rune sword. Sweet. Spell rune sword, Craig. Seriously. It's a blessing. It can read runes. And it's +2 survive. So my survive is really good. So I think when I get to the finale, I'm going to go after one of the survival things. Oh, boy. I think we're technically on my 6th day at this point. Again, I might have goofed that up. But we'll just pretend I am. 6th day, one more action. I got the rune sword. 96, which is also very high up on the numbers. So it's all that good stuff that's in the high numbers. 96. Island Dreams. You walk through a massive field of poppies. Halfway through, you feel tired. Oh, poppies! Like little shades of Wizard of Oz in here. After a few more steps, you need a nap. Lying down in the field, lulled to sleep by the gentle fragrance of the poppies, I dream of the island. In my dream, it speaks to me, and I speak back. So I talk to the island. This is a learn check. Let's see. Well, I've got a friend that helps me with learn, so I'm going to use that. So he's in my dream too, and he's going to help me. So I've got a 3 on learn. I'm just going to roll 1 die. +3. 4 + 3 is 7. Target number 10, no good. So I have a nice dream, but I don't gain. Oh no, if I fail, I gain a willpower and lose 1 worry. Oh, you always gain a willpower here. But I lose a worry. So let's mark that. I gain a willpower. I now have no worry. I'm all wonder. I'm loving this island. I can adjust my my exploration checks up high if I want to. I'm going to be in my last day. I'm going to do 2 more explorations, and then I'm going to try the finale and see if I get to stay. And I've got a whole bunch of days to try to make that happen. So hopefully it'll work. 2 more explorations. Me and my adventuring party of Nimblethim, Tilla, and Flit. 44. That's doubles. I'm going to re-roll that. Because I don't need to encounter the... At 66, I'm going to re-roll that. 86. Gets me up to the cookie jar tree. Yeah! I was talking about this before we started recording. Ahead, you see a massive many-limbed tree. Each limb holds a large clay jar with a lid. Each jar is emblazoned with the word cookies. This is entirely of Shireen's imagination. It is not something that I would ever have come up with. I love the cookie jar tree. As you marvel at the sight, the bark of the tree opens up in a mouth and eyes, and it speaks. Help me make more cookies to fill the jars. My guests will be here soon. The tree motions to a small brick oven and bowls of ingredients. So I get to make learn checks and make cookies to fill the cookie jar tree. Oh, boy. Let's see. I've got learn check. I've got willpower. I'm gonna sit on that willpower because I'm gonna need that later. I'm just gonna make the check straight up, but I do have a friend who can give me a 1 + 1. So I've got a 3. Target number 8. 4 + 3 is 7. That's not gonna make it. Target number 8. If you succeed, you make enough cookies to fill the jars. And you gain something as a reward, regardless of whether you succeed or fail. You can also stay for the party. I'm going to stay for the party. So if I want, I can spend 1 action to gain Bright Blossom the Flowerkin as a helper. I've got 3 helpers/friends. I'm not going to stay for the party. I'm going to use my action. I'm going to be like, sorry, I couldn't help you with the cookies. Maybe I'll stop by later. So I'm going to go back and do 1 more exploration. I'm not going to hang around for the party. Everybody's going to say, these cookies are great. And I'm going to say, hey, yeah, they are good. I didn't make any of them. I'm terrible at making cookies, apparently. And that's a 48. Which is Visions of Decay, which I've rolled 3 times now. So I'm going to re-roll. 58. Did I roll that before? Incandescent Tunnel. I rolled that before, too. More re-rolls. 71. I don't think I've rolled 71. Pinecone Puzzle. Oh, geez, this is a helper. I'm hitting all the helpers. Soft needles cover the earth under the rough trunk-filled trees. The trees are adorned with many large pine cones. Fallen needles crunch softly. Closely examining one very large cone, you see the seed scales on its exterior have grown like a maze, and you can run your fingers inside the grooves. A voice cries out for help from inside the massive pine cone. Can I solve the maze? So I've got this giant pine cone, and I trace it around. I'm going to try a learn check. This is my last day. I don't have my learn bonus from my friend to help anymore because I used it last turn. This is a straight roll. Target number, with a +2, target number 6, and I got it. So I gain Fuzzy the Caterpillar as a helper. Now I've got 3 friends, because actually Flit becomes a friend at the end of this day because I haven't used his abilities. And I like all 3 of these, so I'm not going to add the Caterpillar. I'm going to stick with these 3. And we're going to go into the final week. So, at this point, recap. I've improved my learn from last time around. So, and I've got a lot of wonder, a little bit of willpower. I've got the meditating shrine, which really isn't helping me right now because I've been keeping high on willpower. I've never dropped to 0, but that's okay. I've met the inhabitants. I've learned all the things about them, and I've gained 4 items that I'm carrying with me. Along with a rune sword, which is magic, a blessing, and then I've got 3 friends, like an adventuring party with a magic item and some gear. And I am going to try to play the finale. Now, the finale is set up in such a way that each scenario, and there's 5 of them, each scenario has 4 goals, 4 things they have to do. So there's basically 4 actions or 4 checks that you need to make, and you keep using actions and keep making the checks until you succeed. You need to succeed at all 4 and in order. And that allows you to do the thing that is the finale, and we'll get to the specifics of that. There's like, you can roll randomly for it, which I'm not going to do because I've actually got a character who's geared nicely towards survive. And so each of the 4 traits, you'll notice here, there's a discover-centric, an interact-centric, a learn-centric, and a survive-centric. There's a finale scenario that is kind of geared more toward one of the traits. So I'm going to do the long race, which is survive-centric. And all of the finale scenarios are things that revolve around the inhabitants, which is why you had to meet them and learn all about them in the first place and become friends with one of them. There's the greatest secret, which is actually kind of about the inhabitants, but also kind of about the island. You're learning why the island is the way it is. There's a marriage. You take part in a marriage ceremony. The great feast is where you take part in the great feast celebration. There's the long race, which we're going to do, and then there's honor the dead, which is it doesn't have it's not centric to one of the traits. It's kind of broadly based. All 4 of the traits are kind of needed equally, where you will take part in a very solemn occasion and honor a dead member of the community. So I'm going to run in the long race. Scenario number 4. Many cultures engage in contests of strength, dexterity, and endurance, and the inhabitants are not different. The inhabitants invite your character to compete in the long race, a multi-day trek across the island that will test their physical limits. At the end, a guardian beast watches over a flag your character must grab to successfully complete the race. Develop additional details of this cultural event as part of this scenario. So I could kind of build that out. If I was journaling all of this, I could be describing in more detail what all of this is, but basically I've got 4 goals. A target number 8. There's an interact check that where I learn about my rivals. I got to kind of size up my opponents that I'm racing against. Then there's a target number 8 survive check, which is the trek itself. I'm going to be running the race. A discover check allows me to find a shortcut to have a better chance at winning, and then there's a survive check at the end to battle the guardian beast and grab the flag. And I've got to succeed on all of these things, and I have to do them in order. And then if I succeed, it tells me down here what exactly happens to me. So I've got the entire week 4 to do this. So I feel like I'm in good shape. I've got a high survive. I've got a couple of willpower. If I want to, I can go do other explorations in the middle of all of this. like if I start depleting my resources, you are allowed to go and do other explorations and things and try to gain some of those resources back. Now, if I had kept track of some certain explorations, this is something I wanted to point out. I never ended up doing it, but if I had like gotten to an exploration and decided, hey, this exploration is really cool. It gains me some willpower, for example. I gain, or I gain some wonder or something. There's some reward that's really cool. And whether I got it or not, I could have put it here for under return. There's return 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are 4 places that you can track. You'd say my character remembers exactly where that place is, and I can return without rolling dice. So I could have kept track of those places if I wanted to. This would be an ideal time if I had piled up some of those and be like, oh, here's a place where I can go and gain an item that I didn't manage to get last time, or here's where I could go get some more willpower so I can have more dice to roll. So I didn't stockpile any of those, but if you're playing the game, this, it's something that you could do. I could actually just take a couple of days and say like, well, beforehand, I'm going to try to see maybe if I find some places that will be useful that I can return to. But I'm just going to go ahead and try to make this all happen. So the long race. First, I'm going to talk to my rivals, try to size them up. That's a target number 8 interact check. I've got a bonus that I get. I've got a 3, basically, with my bonus that I get from Nimblethim, because he's good at talking to people. And so I'm going to spend my willpower to have 2 dice, and I'm going to size up my rivals. Target number 8. Got a +3. And I got a 6 and a 6. So 6 plus 3 is 9. Meets my target number. I know my rivals. I've succeeded at that. Next action, I am going to make a dangerous trek. This is going to be a survive check. This is like braving the dangers of the bulk of the race. My survive is very high, so I'm not going to spend willpower. I'm just going to make my check. Straight up, I have a +6. I get a 10, which is well above that. So I make that. My character goes running across the island. He's really booking it. He's really cooking. He's moving. Everything's going great. He's got a chance to win this thing. Hey, there's a shortcut here. I can try to zoom through here. I find this shortcut. I need a discover check. I've got a straight +3 on that. I'm going to spend the willpower to get 2 dice. I'm into my second day at this point, right? And I'm going to spend, to get 2 dice, I've got a +3 on Discover to find the shortcut. And I roll a 10 with +3, gets me my target number there. I find the shortcut, and now I'm down to the last action on this, the last goal, on the second action of my second day. I've got to survive the battle with the guardian beast and grab the flag, and that's a survive check as well, but I've got a very high survive, so I'm sticking with the 6. I've got a +6, 1 die. Can I do this 1, 2, 3, 4 just in 4 checks? I can. 5 plus 6 gets me 11. That beats my target number of 10. I have hit all 4 goals in order on the first try for each one, mostly because I had willpower and a really good survive rating. Success. You complete the race and impress the inhabitants with your bravery and physical prowess. If you finished in just 4 actions, you won first place. For every action it took beyond 4, your place drops 2 ranks. So I won. And at this point, there's an epilogue. And this kind of wraps up everything after your scenario. If your character doesn't succeed at their finale scenario before the end of the 4 weeks, the island expels them. They are magically whisked away to their home and never able to return. If they successfully complete their finale scenario, the island itself and the inhabitants' community welcomes them to stay for as long as they wish. They may leave and return whenever they want, but are expected to keep the location of the island and the means to find it a secret. Your character becomes yet another secret of the vibrant isle. So, I won. I did it. Things went poorly at first, where I lost a bunch of gear, and I couldn't manage to hold on to gear. I lost 3 separate items as we were going. If I hadn't lost all of those, I would have had 7 items total, and I would have had to start leaving some behind. I wouldn't have been able to carry it all with me. but I managed to learn something and increase one of my traits. I got lots of worry, wonder, and willpower and spent points. Developed my inhabitants, made my friend, made a couple other friends, found one of the blessings of the island, the magical rune sword. And that was a fun little diversion that I kind of powered through once we got past the talky bit up front where I talked about the game. It took, maybe an hour and a half, little less than an hour and a half to play the game all the way through. If things hadn't gone as well for me, I might have needed more of that fourth week to gain bonuses and items and things before I tried my finale. But it worked out nicely that I had the things I needed, kind of boom, 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 and I was able to attempt the finale early. So there's certainly tweaking and modification to be done to all of this. There will be playtesting in a larger part coming up. Right now, Shireen, my co-creator, and I are running a few playtests just to make sure that it doesn't just fall apart. That, I would think, right there is a pretty successful playtest. It worked pretty well. I explored a bunch of stuff, but there's a ton of explorations that I never hit. There's all sorts of magic that I never came across. Lots of critters that I never came across. There's a lot of different types of inhabitants that you can generate with those random tables. So the hope is that this game will be very replayable. And it can be like a nice diversion that if you just play it straight through, you can play in a couple hours. Depending on how adept you are with the book and writing stuff on paper or doing it with PDFs and form fillable and everything. And if you want to put more to it, more depth and put more time into it, you can also journal and map your island as you go. And you could conceivably turn this into a game that takes 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to run through, depending on how much of that sort of thing you want to do. And by its nature, you can just say, okay, well, I'm at this point. I'm on the second day of the second week. I'm just going to set it aside. So you could literally break this out and do this like for half an hour every day at lunch and play one game over the course of a week of lunches. You don't have to play it all in one shot. That was all designed into the game intentionally, with the hope that you can play it a lot of different ways. Shireen has even remarked how this would be an easy enough game to play with a group of people kind of working together and deciding as a group what the character does, maybe even with kids. They can vote on what everybody's going to do, or everybody gets a turn. Maybe you go around, you got multiple kids, and like this kid says, okay, this time we're going to go on an exploration. This time we're going to scavenge the beach. And there's a lot of different ways that you can play it, but you can certainly play it as a solo game. And I expect the game book to be 70-something pages long, 6x9 format, with the PDF bookmarked and hot linked all over the place so that you can bounce around the book very quickly. It features all this lovely, wonderful art from Gemma Moratia, who is at Ashenwave on Twitter, and it is co-designed. The game is co-designed by Shireen Gilchrist, who is at Madfishmonger on Twitter. We have had a great deal of fun creating this. I blame Derek Kamal for giving me the idea to do this when he created his Broken Cask solo tavern owner game, which is coming very, very soon. Derek, you weren't here for it, but somebody has come up with #BlameDerek, and that's definitely what I'm going to do, and I might even put that in the credits somewhere. So that's the gist of the game. Playtesting to go. If playtests go well, and it all kind of comes together pretty nicely and quickly, potentially a Kickstarter this year, before the end of the year. If the game ends up needing a lot of work, then we might have to push it past the holidays, because the holiday time is just not a good time to run a Kickstarter. So that's the plan. Thank you for joining us. If you were here for the playthrough and for asking questions, thank you for watching or listening to this later, if that's what you did. Fingers crossed, there will be a Kickstarter in a few months before the year's out. So Bye, everybody.